So just want to record this. Okay. So just, hey, how's everything going all the way? Where are you right now? Just give me like
Thunder Bay.
Thunder Bay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. I've been to Thunder Bay a long time ago though, but yeah, they good people up there. Um, so let's, last week we wanted to, I noticed that you got some of your assignments done, like the day in the
One.
life of.
Well, oh, yeah, I got that done the week before, and then this last week I wrote about the birth, the Labor Day birth,
Right.
and actually Mishki is where my career and story as a flying nurse began. That's where I delivered the baby. So the woman is there, and the son that I delivered is there, and many people that remember me from back when I started in '76, right? So I went there 76. You weren't born either, right?
No.
No. Anyway, so I had a lot of realizations over from before I left and while I was there, kind of thing. Extremely busy in a wonderful way, but realizing people and help that I need, to make this happen, right? And I'm a wonderful organizer, and I love creating new things, but the maintaining of things drags me down like severely, and I usually start fairly large tasks that require help, kind of, and lots of organizing and planning, like, if and I didn't take full pictures of it, and because I don't know because why, but the entourage of what I had to take into the community to make happen what happened is actually remarkable in itself. Even around my room here, what I've got to take to the next community, because I've had 4 in a row, and each requiring different things for them to make it happen, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Anyway.
well, I mean, this is, you said that you didn't take any pictures, but I want you to think of, as you go through these experiences and as you are, so selflessly giving to others and creating such, change in people's lives, this is stuff that you definitely want to see as opportunity, right? You don't even, it doesn't matter what you look like. It's just like a quick selfie, and then that's something that you can come back to later. You don't have to post it right away. You don't have to do it right away. You don't have to do the work yet. But just having that little piece of content so that you can come back to it and you can write, a powerful story post about your journey. And even though you think you're like, well, okay, well, what would this have to do with empower? But it is that empowered life. It is you going out there and chasing your passions and making a difference and contributing, and it lets people into who you really are, because that's really a lot of the essence of Betty Jean is going out there and being an advocate for these people, and reaching out to people that often don't have anyone to reach out to. So it's something that's extremely admirable that a lot of people will connect with, and that a lot of people actually wish that they had the ability to do. If they could go up to a northern community and volunteer their time for an event or for a workshop or something like that, they would love to do that. But they can't, right? And so that would be, if I was to do a post about us working together and going up north, that would be something that I would highlight on, is the fact that, I can go out to these communities and take time off and take my family, and, it can happen because of the lifestyle that I lead. Whereas a normal person would have to, put funds together, would have to take time off, would have to find daycare, would only be able one of them to go, you wouldn't be able to bring the whole family, all these sort of things that they wouldn't be able to experience. So constantly having that idea of, how can this teach something to Rachel, or how can this help her connect with me more? How can this, hit on one of her desires, one of her goals, one of her dreams, or how can this solve one of her pains? moments where, you know, she feels like she's all alone. She feels like she's not making a difference. She feels like she's just stuck in a routine, in a rut. Whereas you're out there, you know, meeting new people and changing lives. Like that's something that people get excited about. And they're like, hey, I want to do that too. So always seize the opportunity, even if it's just to come back to you later. Or
I
you
did.
know, and
I get
being like uncomfortable and saying, hey, can you take a picture of me? This is for my blog. I'm an online blogger and I blog about all my
that's
travels.
there's that's the block there, because I did take a few, but none with me in it. And I didn't ask that. And I thought of it and I didn't. I just,
Yeah, it's just the power. Like we think it doesn't matter,
darn.
but it does when people see our face in that
Mm,
moment, and they see us in our natural element. And it's not about looking perfect. You know, your hair can be all crazy because you're moving and carrying all this stuff, and you know you're helping people, and you know it's a sweaty job sometimes. But just showing that realness of this is me here in this moment. That's why selfies are so powerful because
jeez.
they let us into like a piece of someone's life. So what are you thinking? What's going through your head?
That I bought the gizmos to do it and everything, like from the little stick guy for, tripod, to the selfie, and just how that fear. So again, getting into the avatar of that person, that so tears are right there, because how can you be so strong in some areas of your life and so afraid and weak in others? And where did that Stella got her groove back? Where, getting that back and hanging on to it has been way harder than I thought it would be. And so things knock you down easier, kind of, as you've been knocked down a few times, and that you're back at it. So there's I've unfortunately not out of the game, but have been get knocked down, and I got knocked down again this last week from that community that I'm probably feeling most passionate about, that is so dysfunctional. And I know the people living in the community that I work with are being bullied, and the money that I've been getting for them is being spent somewhere else other than on the elders and the services that they're supposed to have. And I have a moral dilemma of what I'm going to do. So I'm faced with this moral dilemma with this community, and it's hanging over me, and it's intense. It is. It's truly intense, and getting involved in my life. So there's a whole lot of things like that
But
happening.
let's go back to that initial fear of, you know, what is it that you're actually afraid of? Like to in this moment, because you knew that you're like, oh, I didn't get a picture, because you kind of knew that you should have. You kind of knew
Yeah.
it was a good opportunity to tell a story and let people connect with what you really do, and your journey, and your who you are and what you stand for, and you know everything that means something to you. So those are the kind of moments that you want to capture. So you knew, but something stopped you, or some like a and it really, we can say that all these things are happening in our life and putting pressure on us, but ultimately it was something internal. It wasn't
It is.
anything external. um,
Right, right.
you know,
I hear
so
you.
kind of how what were you feeling like? Did you do you feel nervous if asking someone to take a picture? Do you feel like you don't like a selfie? You know, you just rather would take a picture looking forward without you in it rather than a reverse cam?
Oh, absolutely. Right now, I prefer taking it forward, and I did take some strategically. You couldn't be outside very long because those black flies like could smell you and zoomed in, and they were intense. So standing outside in the evening, like after work, was hard. But um, I I'm trying to rack my brain. What is it that I'm really afraid of with people taking the picture of me, or me taking myself? Me taking myself, I haven't mastered it, so I'm judgmental on how I look. And I did take, one kind of thing, and I forget to ask other people. I'm so wrapped up in what I'm doing, I forget. And as I was driving out of Mishkigogaming, I looked at the lady's house who I delivered her baby in the plane, and I had asked if we could make arrangements, but it didn't happen, and so many things were happening.
Hmm.
And I thought, should I just go and knock on her door? And then I thought, no, that's really kind of being intrusive coming in. That was my excuse for not stopping and going in and knocking and at least asking and accepting no for an answer if I get it, right? And asking her, can I do a picture of us, right? Because it's her baby I delivered, and I'm very aware, was very mindful that I drove by the house and I didn't turn around, even though I contemplated it. And I guess part of my knowing said go back, and I didn't. I didn't.
Okay. Okay. Well, I feel like even just the moment there when you were breaking down and you're saying, how can someone be so strong in some areas of their life and then, have still be crippled by fear in other areas where they don't take action. And, when you think about who we are as humans, every instance, every circumstance is a perspective. It's a way that we have been conditioned to see that circumstance. So right now, you have a perspective of, just I feel like it could be the judgment, of someone would be like, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons that people are nervous to talk to someone or ask someone to take a picture of them, or just how do you step into, this is what I want to do? Well, you have to create enough emotional leverage. So you have to create enough emotional connection to why you're doing this, why you want your online brand to work, why you want to connect with people around the world, why you want your message to actually reach them and communicate with them the right way. You have to connect with that. What's that going to mean for you? So I think, we went into a well-formed outcome, and we did that. And I think that you should maybe go back and watch that replay. That was in our session 2, so I can find that for you. I think it's up in the group, but yeah, that was our session 2, was the what does it mean for you, and really digging deep into why you're doing this. And then in those moments when there's like, oh, I don't want to ask somebody, I'm just kind of would rather not, or I don't want to turn around, or I don't want to take a chance and knock on her door. All of these moments in your life when you don't do something because you're a little bit afraid. Now you can anchor yourself in this emotional leverage, in this want to. And sometimes we have to anchor ourselves in the negative emotional leverage as well, because as humans, we're motivated by pain. So I want you to think about right now, what happens if your online business never works? What happens if you never make any money on the internet?
I will be going to work like I am now,
Right?
flying into communities for a very long time, with not a lot of um, financial wealth available to care for me in my elder years.
So, in approaching your elder years, what are you going to do if your online business doesn't work and you
Mm-hmm.
can't be traveling around anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
you get to the point where you can't be working? What will that look like?
It would look pretty bleak, actually. I have, of course, but my house that I have converted into a duplex, so I could market it differently and rent it out differently because of its location. I take the security of renting it full time to a family that have lived there, but you can rent it differently and earn more money. Anyway, but there would not be very much there, because I didn't manage things properly, and so there is no nest egg for me.
Okay, so
Could
when
be a burden to my kids, but they're still looking for me to support them because they don't manage their money properly either.
Right. Okay. So when you're
That's the
when you're
sad
at that
truth.
point, when you're at that reality, and that is something that you have to face, how will you feel when
Absolutely terrible, and I feel terrible already. And I can't believe that's not strong enough to get me going. Um, and I
it is strong enough. It is strong enough, Betty Jean. You just have to anchor it into these moments, into everything that you do when you're communicating in a video, when you're sharing a story, when you turn the camera on, when you take a picture, when you sit down to write. You have to tap into that, because you're going to be faced with fear. You're going to be faced with the unknown. You're going to be faced with things you don't know how to do, and things that totally scare you. And I've actually been dealing with fear a lot with not only my clients, but also my best friend and my sister. So, my sister had this, and she had this interview, and we had to be on camera. So all of these people are so afraid of the camera, that they would let that stop them from, communicating their message. And part of me is like, how can that be? How can I be so motivated by what I do and so inspired that I don't care what I look like on camera, that I don't care what I say on camera, that I just let it flow, that I don't feel fear, or when I did, I went through it anyway. But some people will let it stop them. Some people will cancel the commercial, like my sister did. She canceled the commercial. She couldn't do it. She couldn't be on camera. And an opportunity for our sandwich shop went out the window. But for me, I had to sit down and I had to think, okay, well, why does fear stop some people? And why do some people see it as, for me, I see it as excitement. I see it as, okay, if I'm scared, that means something in me is about to change. That means that as soon as I break through this, I'm about to grow. And for me, I've anchored so much joy, so much happiness in me growing as a person. It's such a mission that I am so in tune with, that when I see fear, it's exciting, and it's something that's going to challenge me. And I really feel like this is something that you can work on, and you can reframe this, you can refocus it to not care what you look like on a selfie, because you are who you are, and you can't change that, and you don't need to be successful in connecting with people. You don't need to, because the biggest part of that selfie, the most important part of that selfie, is the words that you write. The words that you write. So, I feel like, just reading your story. I want to go over to it in a second, and we're going to talk about the story, because I feel like this is just one in, like, uh, an encyclopedia of stories and instances that you've had. But I really want you to think about that birth, that Labor Day birth, and what changed in you in that moment.
Uh, the confidence for at the time, because I was a young nurse, right? I was only graduated in 73 and this was 76. So
Mm-hmm.
I had only been out a few years and I had never really worked labor delivery. And, you know, I came north looking for the adventure, and for sure I found it. So, the success of delivering the baby and everything going well. And I've always been enamored and in tune with numbers and synchronicity, like things happening and it being Labor Day. Thought it was pretty cool. So the confidence grew for me as a nurse, and I um, delivered other babies at home too, with a doctor that partnered with me, and we both did it on the QT out of the hospital. And rather than me going to become a midwife, which would have required me leaving home, I just opted to help with the doctor and be that, because only so many people want home births. as you're probably aware in your experience too, right? It's not everybody's thing, but those who want it really want it. And so I get all that. And you know, it's right. I need to go back, I guess, and just say I was so well received in that. And one of the nurses that was there acting as nurse in charge, who was filling in, was so excited to see me, and I felt so validated and so honored, and everything else, that I realized that's not around me much in my life. You know, and getting that, you know, if you took my five closest people, they aren't necessarily honoring who I am, and I haven't been able to get myself around people like that. I'm putting out, but I'm not getting in, and you know, I have been to some events, but I need to get that more. So um, I have gone to some events, but I need more events. Like I was validated when I went to the nursing thing in Cornwall with all the registered nurses and all the FNIB people. I was highly honored by one of the elites and the top people in RNAO, you know, just giving me edification, edifying me in front of 100 of my colleagues.
So why do they edify you? What
Because
attributes,
of what
what qualities, what things have you done that they edify you for?
my vision,
Mm-hmm.
my ability to have stood the test of time, because I've been working at this for some 20 years. And so making things happen in an environment that is difficult and challenging,
Mm-hmm.
um, connecting with the people. So the edification came in my dream and my large vision to see elder people, for the places for the elders to live in these communities so they don't have to go so far away from their families, right? And I've got an elder center, but not a place where they live in the one community. And so the broader vision in the next 5 to 10 years is to see elder homes and to try to be that person who actually gets the money. So the fund, the whatever that person, see, I don't know the technology because I never got my master's, but I know that when Brenda talks to me, what I'm doing is uh, being that person to find all the funds and put it together. So I take on more than I can really fully understand, but I don't have a partner. So I get edified anyway for my dream and my vision, and in the community as well. Like when I got there, that's, you know, I came to teach foot care, and um, that I got edified for that as well. Same thing.
Okay. Okay. So I know,
Sorry.
as you well know, as you are aware of, and you're perceptive of, the people around you are not giving you that edification.
Right.
They do not, whether they know all of these things about you, they don't validate it or value it or make it known that it's appreciated, or you know, that they're proud of you, of what you've done. You know, that even though they may feel it, and I think that some of the people in your life, just from what we've talked about, some of the people in your life may feel that pride, and but
Mhm.
their ability to communicate it is just far too blocked by all of their perceptions of what you should change, or you know, the negatives. So yeah, they can't see that. So my, like, light bulbs going off in my head. I remember a video that I cut, and it was one of the first videos that I cried on. Um, and I was just talking about, you know, this relationship that we have with ourselves, and the trauma of going through life, always, you know, always trying to be something to somebody else. You know, for me, I was always told I was going to be a doctor. I was super smart. I was, you know, a nerd in school. I had no friends. So all I had was school. And I had amazing grades, straight A's, never had a B in my life. And, you know, so my whole life it was just, this is what I was going to do. And I had to make everyone else proud. And then when the moment came in university, when I got into medical science, and, you know, I was like, is this really who I am? I was at such a struggle, such a, you know, just I didn't know who I was. At that point I hadn't spent any time in my whole life defining or figuring out who I was as a person. And I was 18, you know, and that's the crazy thing, is that in those moments when we are actually developing who we are, we don't spend any time to work on who we are, or we're not told to, or we're not shown that, or we're not taught that in school. So anyways, point of the story is this video I shared where I was crying, and you know, it went viral. Like so many comments were coming in. I was getting messages into my inbox of, you know, people who just really appreciated me being so honest and me putting myself out there, me having an ugly cry face on video and not caring and being that real. And so I feel like even though you're held back by this fear to put yourself out there, the moment that you do, the moment that you start talking about all of this value that you have inside of you, because there's no reason you can't do a webinar that is geared towards First Nations people on foot care on the internet. There's no reason that you can't create that. And when you put that stuff out there, I guarantee that you will start to see the validation coming in on an even more global level. And I think that, you know, realizing, feeling that from that woman that you met, and realizing, hey, I don't get to feel this enough in my life. You know, I don't get to feel this appreciation, and, you know, people who are just so happy to see me and who, you know, value what I've done for them. People like that, people who have learned from me, have grown from me. So all you have to do, you know, you start putting out content. You start putting out videos and posts and webinars and trainings, all virtually, which we can do, which, you know, we've been doing for the last five sessions, is actually creating virtual content together. So you know how to do it. You know, you can go right into a Google Hangout and create a webinar that thousands of people can see on replay over and over and over and over and over again. So the technology is here. You have the opportunity. It's just going out there and, you know, releasing whatever fear it is to speak on camera, or whatever fear it may be to take a selfie, and just stepping into, hey, this is my passion. This is something that this is something I'm amazing at. I am amazing at these things. I am amazing at connecting with people. I am amazing at, you know, having a vision to get things done and facilitating that. I am amazing at this stuff, so I need to share it more. So, you know, feeling that, what are some ideas that you have where you can actually start putting yourself out there more? What do you think you should be doing?
I made a list. I had a list of things that are going on in my life, and I guess if it takes up that much of my time in my life to do it, then maybe I need to be talking about it. Because of the time it takes to do that, that if I try to do something totally different, I don't get into it. I should
think
talk.
I want you to hold on to that thought, because I feel like a light bulb breakthrough moment is about to happen. Because you, as you you're not in 1976, where you're in your third year of nursing, and you have all this energy and you can go do all of these things.
Right.
You are at this place of, and as our people would see it, you are one of the teachers that needs to teach others how to do what you've done, how to carry your torch so that you're not doing it anymore.
Mhm.
Just like you said, it's like this is exactly what you need to do. This is why you need to be training on this stuff. This is why you need to be on a global platform with a brand that teaches people how to how to go out and achieve this for themselves, how to go out and get the resources, get the grants, get the funding, and do it,
Mhm.
because you cannot expect that you will be able to do that forever.
Right.
So it's important to you, and it's something that you love, and it's something that you're amazing at, something that you're passionate about. But leveraging that and stepping into that elder role, where you now pass on all of your knowledge, you now pass on all of your experiences, how you have done all of these things and made them happen, and you train the next generation of change leaders, of nurses who care, of medical professionals that are actually out there changing communities, that are actually out there doing good, and you can inspire that, you can lead that, rather than getting so bogged down
Mhm.
with the administration part. I think you really need to reframe and refocus on becoming the instructor. Does that make sense to you? How do you feel about that?
That is where I was going with that, completely, because I got an email on Friday from Canada, Service Canada, the people that loaned North Carolina, or not loaned, gave the grant of 25,000 for them to do things, and they like updates. Obviously, they want to know where their money's going. And I did talk to them on May 10th, and they wanted to know if the community received the package of this, that, whatever. I know I sent a couple of emails, but they get lost because their organization's worse than mine, and so like you put us together, and so they have their struggles. So anyway, I get another email saying I've got to respond to her by Monday. But I thought that I had told her I was going into the community Sunday. So I realized I'm not as, I guess the fear before would have been way greater, that I sent an email back to this government official and just said, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding that we had, but I am going into this community tomorrow. I'll be meeting with the heads on Monday, which I didn't have a plan, but I'm going to get them together because, again, to try to turn this over, to get them to work on the responsibility of owning this, right? And because they don't, they're completely just, the money comes in, they don't know where it's coming from and what's happening to it. Um, and I haven't known in the past where to be part of it, because it comes in over at the band level and it gets dispersed there, and we're over here, and it never moves from here to there, the communication. And but I got to push for it now because they don't know how to answer the government, and they want me to answer, and I can't answer if I don't have the answers. So I was like, oh my Lord. And I realized that's me. So I'm coming up armed with binders and duotang, flipping things for, things to put in order so that as proposals are in and monies, because that's the beginning of things, isn't it? Is organizing the paperwork so you know where to go for the information they're asking for and who's good at it. So first thing in my mind was, you don't know how to, you don't even want to do this. You're going to find out who likes organizing, who likes secretarial. Good, that's your job. I'll work to get people in line so that they can do that. Anyway, so that came to me in the last few weeks again, as all of this teaching of the foot care, of the all of that, to organize their binders and their information and their budgets that are coming in. They thought they had $20,000 and asking me where to spend it. I said I can spend it in a heartbeat. You know, where's that list we were working on of the things that we wanted to accomplish? Remember, I helped it because I did. Where is that? You know, that kind of thing. So I need to be better in my skills at teaching and organizing and more regular in the the sessions. So online, like you said, Google Hangout. I don't know. That's how I'm feeling. Is
It's so simple, actually. Let me just show you a couple things. Oh, am I back? Okay. Let me just show you a couple things because it's so can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. It's so easy to go into your Gmail and to go into your Google Drive and to create a PowerPoint.
What do you? An album?
It's a file. So in let's see. Here's just an example. It's like a PowerPoint, but it's all in your Google so that anybody, you can share it with people, you can access it wherever you are. As long as you can get on your Gmail, you can get all of your PowerPoints. So creating a PowerPoint, simple like this, doing a Google Hangout on some of the skills that people would need if they wanted to, create an elder center, if they wanted to, start an organization, if they wanted to get funding for, an idea or a charity or an event or a workshop, what would they have to do? And I think that if, as simple as this is, it requires thought, it requires your time, but once it's done, you could literally, at every community that you go to, have them go through a virtual workshop to help them organize things, to help them, learn even simple things like how to use a Google Drive to create spreadsheets and PowerPoints, and everyone can have access and update things all the time, and keep notes like you said, what are our goals? Keep them on a server so that anyone can access them as long as they can.
Are all of those presentations? So those are all different Hangout type presentations or whatever, are videos, or some of those are webinars?
No, so what I would do is I would get on here like I am with you right now, and I would share my screen so you can see it. These are PowerPoints, so they're just slides. So they're not videos yet. But right now, if I record it, which I am actually recording, so I could go into here and I would simply go through my PowerPoint. And I would record this and I would talk about, implementation or whatever. This is one of Toby's sales videos. But yeah, so you go through it, you speak it, even if no one is watching. Even if no one's watching your Hangout, because people are always hung up like, oh my gosh, no one's going to come to my Hangout. It doesn't really matter, because we're creating a piece of content that we can leverage later, that we can put into a Facebook group. So like totally free, creating a Facebook group, just like we have for your coaching, and having different videos up there so that they can learn different things, and creating a resource library of your knowledge there in a Facebook group, that you can, create this community that you want to create of, attracting nurses that actually want to do something, attracting people that, that want to learn this stuff and carry on the torch that you've been carrying for so long. So yeah, this is all in your Google. So if you have Gmail, then you can do any of this, and you just go on a Hangout, you share your screen, and you go through your PowerPoint, you hit start broadcast and then stop broadcast when you're done, and then that's it. So this is something that I definitely see you creating in a totally side project of creating an online business or uh, all of that stuff is just honestly putting down and documenting and having all of that information that's inside of you that's so valuable in other realms outside of online business as well. So, and then there's the bridge of creating the bridge from what you're doing, what you're passionate about, what your life is, right now consumed by, and then bridging that into an online revenue stream, whatever that is. Now, I wanted to talk to you about that because
That I've been thinking about too, because you said, what is it you want to promote? If you don't want to promote EN, what is it? And every time I thought of it, it came back to really the Renaissance travel thing that I haven't been, but I got signed up again so that I could, and everything else, because I value that travel membership
right.
very much. I love it. I think it's great. I will continue to use it, and I think that it's great for many people. Um,
Okay, so if that is where you feel like you're really connecting with, and you're like, this goes hand in hand with what I do, it gives me the freedom. Not only am I creating an income stream from it, but I get great travel prices, and travel is something that I'm always doing anyways. So I want to be, getting the most out of it. So okay, I totally can see that. What I want you to do, if you could take a little note in the group, I want you to post for me any websites that you have for that opportunity. So if they give you like a capture page, or if they give you an order page, or what they give you as far as being an affiliate for them to promote. And I want you to post that in our group just so I can see all of your affiliate sites for them. Now, okay, so if that's what we want to promote, I want you to, we talked last week about the freemium. Or we talked, actually, I think it was the week before, and creating this freemium. So the big reason why I don't want to just send someone directly to Renaissance Travel is because to them, they don't know you at that point. They have to really feel like they get a sense of who you are. And because you are such a strong character, you are such a strong woman, you've been through so much, you have so much strength in your experiences, that has to come across, rather than the fear, rather than the insecurity, rather than am I good enough, really coming across as that woman that you are, the woman that's done so much and that's made such an impact, that's recognized and that's celebrated for her vision. That's really who you are. So you have to realize that and live into that moment. But allowing someone to learn that about you before they see Renaissance Travel, that's a totally different experience. So the freemium, I do want you to work on this. I know that you've been busy, but I want you to like put at least a couple of paragraphs on how these daily routines have helped you in in experiencing and living life, in letting go of stress and letting go of anxiety and insecurities and fear and all of this, all of those things that will go right back, all of those things that Rachel has problems with. So we talked about Rachel's problems, we talked about her day, and we want to go back in, and as we fill out each of these segments on how it's changed us, why it's important, giving maybe even some of your medical expertise as to why it's scientifically important, and then also emotionally how it's affected you, and then keeping in mind Rachel's problems and all of her fears, and everything that we discussed in that avatar empathy map. Sometimes I actually, when I write, I keep my empathy map in front of me and I keep it present with me, so that even just looking at the actual empathy map, so I'm pretty sure I uploaded it here.
It is. It's there.
It is somewhere.
Files.
Yeah, no, I mean the actual graphic. So I was buying my sister shoes. I'm like, because she's been going through all this drama of a relationship, and I'm like, well, how about I buy you some shoes? So yeah, this is the empathy map. So I'll actually upload it to our group so it's there. So this is the process that you went through with the empathy map, but just keeping this in front of you just kind of triggers things to keep in mind as you're writing any story. So I do want to go and review what stories you had here and a couple of things. So the day in the life of, that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. So it was really detailed, and I am appreciative of that. I do want you to go in and let me see if I can edit it. No, I can't edit it because I didn't make it. The one thing that I want you to think about is, again, kind of going back to that empathy map. Where is that empathy map? And really honing in on the pain. Because when I read her day, I could see that there were things that would cause pain, but they weren't expanded upon, or they weren't really highlighted. And that's one of the things that we want to really target on, especially as a marketer, and when we're thinking of our avatar, we want to highlight pain. So I want you to go back into your story of Rachel and your day, and I want you to inject more pain. Okay, so I know it seem sadistic, it seems crazy, but we need to inject more pain. So, she gets up early at 6 a.m. because she loves to watch the sunrise. She sits down to meditate and gives thanks for another day. Okay, so our avatar, Rachel, she probably, when we think of someone that we want to help them, we want to help them grow into a process, because yoga, meditation, these are all things that have helped you. These are all things that you have the capacity to teach your avatar. So she may not necessarily be at that moment yet. And I know that I told you to base Rachel off of you, but you want to base Rachel off of you in your most painful moment. Again, with the pain, right?
So she's up at 6 o'clock because she's trying to find the only time she can find before anybody else wakes up and demands her time.
Okay, so that is exactly the kind of frustrations that we want to highlight for Rachel. That's like we want to go back to the aggravated, stressed out, overworked, searching for hope, unsure of herself, insecure Rachel. That not the one that gives gratitude at the end of the night, and because that's something that you learned. That's something that you learned that has helped you to grow and expand, which is exactly what you want to be teaching people to do. So we want to look for the people that aren't there yet. So we want to identify and, again, highlight the pain. So that's one of your to-dos, is to go back in here and just inject as much pain as you can. And wherever, there should be a way that you can actually bold the text.
Yes, there is. Yep, there is.
So when you add the pain point, go through there, I want you to bold them so that I can see really highlighting on some of the pains in there. Okay, so that's one of the things I want you to do, because it's really important for us to move forward and understand how we can relieve that pain, because that is your ultimate goal, is to solve those problems, is to make that pain go away. How can we make that pain go away?
Or maybe not go away, but put a boundary around it, and put be able to, and I said it to someone, lovingly detach. And I was well aware, as I'm saying it, how much I needed that in my life. in so many areas, and how guarded I need to be to keep that lovingly detached, framework around me. So anyway,
Yes,
okay.
exactly. Exactly. So yes, not necessarily. Well, some people might want it gone. Depends what the pain is, right?
Well,
So
that's
yeah,
right. Some of it I do actually want gone. You're right. I do.
yes. So yeah, it just depends on the circumstances, and that's kind of where you will go through her day and say, okay, is this, what kind of pain would she be experiencing? What kind of fear, or what things are hurting right now?
Like I
And
was able to say to my two sons, who both have ex-wives who are just being brutal with them, that, and trying to challenge their ability to parent properly and everything, and just causing, in one Travis's life, even calling in the police and children's aid and everything else. I said I didn't have to deal with that when Rob and I split up. I never feared that he would do something like that to me, and I'm glad, because I have fear with the women in your life, that my life gets upheaval too when I come into your sphere, and it's not pretty at all, and that constant looking over your shoulder for what somebody's going to do because they have a bad day and they didn't take, you know, anyway. So, um, anyway, and I hear that in the north, and I'm going to the next two communities that I have, with lots of things going on, actually. Okay, so the pains, there are
well, the one
pains
thing
there.
that one thing that I want you to remember, because you are at a place right now where you do have a lot of things going on, and
Mhm.
there are uh, a lot of projects, a lot of responsibilities that are looming over you. So one of
Um,
the one of the things that you need to do to really not this is what Toby always calls it. He calls it chunking. So we chunk everything together in these big giant blocks, and we just get stuck.
mhm.
And we can't move and we can't function because it is so heavy. So we have to break these things down and find out what we can delegate, what we can get rid of, what is not really a priority right now, what is urgent and needs our attention, and what we can let go of altogether, and what is not serving us at all. So we have to be clear, rather than just chunking it. And I have so much, really compartmentalizing it and saying, okay, well, what is it that I have here? Is this all really stuff that I have to get done, or are there a few things that I can focus my attention on right now, and I'll allow the others to rest in the background? And I don't know. I know that with your business, your online business, being uncertain of what to promote, or you know kind of now finding that direction with the travel, but having to package that, there is some action that needs to be taken. I know on day one we talked about your fan page, and now that we have our avatar, now that we know who we're talking to, and we're going to go back and we're going to highlight some of her pains in her life, so that we can have those in the front of our mind. But now that we know Rachel, we can create our fan page of the traveling nurse, or Betty Jean, even just creating your own fan page as a public figure, because you've gone into so many communities, people know you, and you have this sense of value, but yet it's not done yet. So let's just
That's the flying nurse, so that I'll be working on to flesh it out or whatever,
right, right.
right? Because that
So
is my
what's
business.
stopping us from making that right now, tonight? The flying nurse.
It's there already, the flying nurse.
Okay.
I don't know why I'd need to make another. I just need to use it differently.
Right. Then we need to get it active.
Right.
We need to get it going, because it looks like it's kind of well,
So that's the one with the picture of me on there, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we need to, exactly. We need
Did
to
you see
make
that
that
one?
more. Yep, I'm looking at it. And your idea is really amazing. And the idea of reaching out to nurses and sharing inspiring stories of nurses and, catering to this target audience, to our avatar. This is exactly what you want to do. But there has to be more. There has to be more of you. And that's kind of where it's like, why isn't there? Why isn't there more of you on this page? And that's where the disconnect is coming from, of your audience. And oh, I found a picture of you. See, so I had to really, really look to finally find a picture of you on this plane. Okay, this of you on this plane. If this is a, okay, I'm looking at it. I'm going to show you my screen right now so that you can see what I'm talking about. So this picture of you on this plane is like a walking opportunity. And even though you might look at that and say, oh, I look like I've been traveling all night, I look tired, I wish I was 10 pounds lighter, all these things that we think about. But really, when you look at that, you can see a story that's developing right there. So that's another thing that I feel like is an area we must work on, is your copywriting and your ability to tell these stories. Because going through the story, I read the story of the Labor Day birth, and
It was boring. It was
yeah,
boring when I read it. It wasn't boring when I was there, but it was
it
boring.
wasn't exactly. So I didn't I that's
I
kind
get
of
it.
that's kind of how I felt about it. And I was like,
It just
it's
didn't
such a
have.
such a powerful moment. It's such an exciting. There was probably like sweat dripping down your face, and your hands were shaking, and the adrenaline was pumping through your veins. But I didn't get any of that from this story. So when we look at that story, just thinking, am I? For me, when I was talking to Toby about it, because we were talking about this call, and I was talking to him about the story that you wrote, and I said it kind of reminded me of like a textbook,
I know.
like a textbook, reading a textbook. So
Uh-huh.
I'm like, okay, so this is definitely an area that you have so many stories to tell, and no matter what capacity it is, whether you're going to be training future nurses, whether you're going to be training First Nations people on healthcare tips, whether you're going to be helping women on their, emotions, whatever it might be, you need to be able to communicate. And you have to be able to do it in words, speaking, and you have to be able to do it in writing. And that will make you a lot of money on the internet if you can write captivatingly. Not so much properly, but captivatingly. So, one of the big, big things that Toby and I are insistent of you is going through the Gary Halbert copywriting. So I know that we talked about that earlier, but we haven't really revisited it. So, what's one of the first things you notice when you read a Gary Halbert letter, as far as how it's structured, how it looks?
Lots of spaces.
Right.
Lots, way more spaces.
Like even sometimes it's just one
Yep.
word and a period, two
Right.
words and a period and a
Yeah.
space and a space
Yes.
and a space.
And
And
bold and italics and all of those kinds of things.
exactly.
And
So
then he goes off into some tangent about something in the newspaper, and I'm thinking, where is he going? And then he of course circles back again, and I'm thinking, are these facts even real? Like, where did he get that information that ties in with this kind of thing?
okay.
Anyway, yeah,
So
it's
yes, that is a big one. And so the first thing when I look at this, if this was beside a picture of you, if you had met that woman, if you had met her and got that picture, and that was up there and beside this, it would have been lost. The
right.
moment would have been lost. So the very first thing, even if you screw everything else up. The very first thing that you want to do is create heightened emotion, something exciting at the beginning. So that kind of leaves them on a cliffhanger. So I actually I've requested that Toby put together his ultimate copywriting, just core course, because I feel like this is going to help you so much with getting these stories out and actually having people connect with them. So the first thing you want to do is a heightened emotion. So something that kind of is out there, like my hands were, sweat was dripping down my face. Sweat was dripping down my face. And they're like, "What? That's that's weird. Why? Why was sweat dripping down her face?" And instantly they want to know why. Instantly they're wondering, what is this crazy story I'm about to hear where she was so, so overwhelmed she was sweating. And just like that one thing, a heightened emotion at the beginning and better spacing and no more of these long paragraphs. So when you go through this story, so I want you to go through some of Toby's copywriting stuff that he's going to give to you, and then I want you to go back into the story. So there's a few things to keep in mind. The first was what I asked you before, and it was how did you change? So before you go into telling the story, I like to think of that first. So before I write it all down and get all the detail, because this was very factual. This story was very factual. So before you get into any of that, you should always know, how did this change me? What did I learn here? What was the lesson that I want to communicate? And you have to know that before you write anything, because that will keep that present in your mind as you write it. Then you want to inject it with questions. So where was the one line where it said, when it's time for the woman to leave her community, some cannot be located for different reasons, and they show up at the nursing station in labor. Yeah. So imagine yourself in that situation. Imagine what it would be like if you had to, deliver your child out in the, without a hospital, without a doctor. And just putting questions to inject them into that moment. Think of a time in your life when you had an overwhelming task in front of you that you didn't know if you could do it, but it was life or death. So injecting some of these questions, this is simple, that I tell everyone, the most powerful key on your keyboard when it comes to copywriting is the question mark. So I have questions everywhere. You'll look at my fan page posts, you'll read the stories, and people say, your story intrigues me. This post, I want to know more. I've been through that before. I've had a time in my life when I had that. And, it's just that ability to communicate that message. So I'm going to put together a cheat sheet and just give you some foundational fundamentals of copywriting and how to structure the story, just with something that can be a little bit easier. But I do want you to, I know that you knew, and that's actually really good. But I do want you to be back on the Gary Halbert letters and reprogramming yourself to write like him. Really think about it as your voice. It's your story. It's coming from you. It's not a documentation of events. It's not. It's honestly just you speaking to someone, and the more emotional that you can get about what did this mean for me? How did I feel? What fear did I face? What was going on in my brain in that moment that other people, that Rachel has experienced, that can help teach Rachel? And as you write your stories, write it for her. Write it for her. Really see her in your mind when you're telling this story so that she can get the most out of it. How can you change her perspective with your story? How can she learn and how can she be inspired to face fear from this story? How can she, see that anything is possible from your story? What can she learn? And being really clear and specific on that.
All
So
right.
those are the things I want you to do. Just touch back on it here so you can remember. The day in the life of Rachel, we're injecting pain in bold. I'll put it, injecting pain in bold. Here, I want you to fill out
For
what
Renaissance travel, um,
yeah, the links. So
mhm.
posting your affiliate links so I can check them out. Our freemium that we want to create of our daily routines. So this is the PDF that will come from you, that will be branded from you as your 5 daily routines for, and then I think we decided, where was it? Let me see, freemium creation. Yeah, so I want you to go into your freemiums and just write like a couple paragraphs on why it's important, why it's helped you emotionally and physically, and keeping in mind Rachel and what problems it's solving for her. So I think that's it. And then on Monday, we're going to tackle copywriting from the ground up.
On Monday.
On Monday. So, well, that's when it will go live. So Toby's going to upload a bunch of a full album of stuff, all for copywriting, that you're going to be able to go through. So there's some videos, there's things to read, there's
Awesome.
little cheat sheets and like copy, like fill in the blank sort of stuff. So it'll be really helpful for you. And that'll go live Monday. And then when you do that, then we'll go back into this. So don't worry about this yet. Don't worry about your story post yet. Even though you know it was boring, even though you could recognize that, we are going to fix that. We are going to make sure that your stories are told in a way that truly expresses what they were meant to express. But we'll get to that after Monday. So
Okay.
I really want you to focus on the pain for Rachel and these freemium routines, because as soon as this is done, as soon as you complete the actual text part for this, then I can have my branding guy take your graphics and put like a really cool sort of sweet PDF that we can now offer to people, in conversation at the end of a video as a call to action to build your list and to build your rapport with your audience. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So those are the 2 things I want you to get done right away, and then Monday we'll reconnect about. Toby will probably put a video in there just to give you an overview of everything that he has for you, because we definitely, like, copywriting is one of our huge strengths, and everyone that reads anything that we write on the internet always acknowledges that, on how, man, you made me read right to the end, or, you had me on the edge of my seat. You had me ready to, you had me at hello, essentially, with the stories that we tell. So it's a powerful skill set that we want to make sure that it gets infused into you, because you have such good stories that we don't want them to come across as boring.
Thank you.
So yeah. So any other questions before we wrap up?
No, I thank you, because I do believe that you get me, and that's good. And I do see, like, when I read, I am captivated by it. So I know I have things to offer, and I will get there. And I'm I'm still working on everything, even though I'm slow. But I don't feel it's not. I mean, it's not that I'm not doing things. I'm doing lots of things. I just
I want you to take notes of them. Take notes of the things that you do, that could be taught to someone else.
Yes.
And as you go through, just even in your phone, keep a little notepad of things that could be taught to someone else. And as you do
Yes.
them, even if you're still doing them right now and you don't have anyone else to do them and no one
Right.
else will get them done, making a note of that and saying, okay, well, this is something that I could, create a quick module on that could teach someone else to do it. So that
And I
even
wanted,
in the future, if you do have a partner, if you do have someone that comes on board and that wants to assist and create this, then you're like, hey, well, I've got all the modules there that can show you exactly what I do, and it's really a leverage of you. So yes, make sure that you're
thank
keeping a note of all the things that you do that could be taught or passed on or carried on by the next flame carrier.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yes, and remember to take time for you, Betty G. And, just being present in your body and your health and your sleep and your water and all of these things that, that we take for granted when there's a lot of things that we have to get done.
I will do. And I am getting better at it. Monday, what time is the training with Toby?
Oh,
Or
it'll
the
all be in the
webinar?
Facebook group, so it's just kind of like as you have time. It's
Ah,
not,
okay.
it's not a live thing. So yeah, he'll have
Good.
a video up there to instruct you through it, and then it just as when you have some time in your.
Well, I'm going to be in North Caribou and I get to stay at the Elder Center, so I'm all alone from like 5 o'clock in the evening to basically 9 o'clock the next morning. So
On Monday.
on Monday I am. And I'll make sure I am because sometimes people like to come see me after hours and I'll just say that I'm already booked. So there we
Okay,
are.
well, I would actually, if I have access to you on Monday, there's something I would like to do, and it's something that I've done with a few of my other clients that I found was really powerful for them, and it's an interview of your story. So I would like to interview you on your story. So I have the ability to edify you and to, touch on some, highlight the victories and the awesomeness and the vision that you have and the things that you've done coming from me and edifying you and your story. So on Monday night, if you're free, it only takes maybe 20 minutes for us together, jumping on a hangout, but just kind of be conscious that it's me interviewing you and, so you want to make sure there's good light and all those sort of things. Good
Okay.
sound.
All
Mhm.
right. Oh,
But yeah, so sharing your
is
story.
this
So,
good sound with me being on my earphones?
yeah, that sounds great.
Cool.
Just no randoms coming in the background, right?
Um, I'll work on that.
Yeah, okay. All right, Betty Jean. Well, yeah, just keep in touch on Monday then. We'll set something up. If you're available after 5, then we could do.
Now, yep, 5 my time, where I'll be going to will be 6 your time. So I'm heading back to Central Time. So
Okay. So
5
maybe
there.
like maybe 5:30 or even later if you want it to be later, like after 8 my time, then the babies are in bed. But I got to
Is
do.
that okay? Is that good for you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
because that'll be like 7, and that's good for me. I
Okay.
know that I get tired out by 8:30. Honestly, it's like I'm ready.
Yeah, I hear
And
you.
that's honestly what happened. That's the whole irony. The other night with my mix up in the time, I was tired and I laid down and I laid down for 45 minutes and it was like 8 o'clock. It's like I went, oh my gosh, you just slept through your thing. But I wanted to get rested for 9 o'clock and I just went, that's just crazy, man.
Okay, so we're going to keep that in mind that maybe the after 8:30 sessions are not the best for you. Well, your time. Okay. So yeah,
Thank you, thank you.
we'll shoot for that on Monday then. And yeah,
Yes.
I want you to just think about your story. Like think about there's essentially 3 components. Where you were before. So before you started to practice mindfulness, before you started to implement these daily routines, before you you found an online business, before you started to open your mind to being an entrepreneur, where were you? what was the pivotal thing that made you change? So usually it's like a moment of you lose everything, or you're just at a moment of, you know, breakdown, that these breakthroughs usually come up. So the moment that you made a decision that, you had to make a change, and then, the contrast. So what's different about you now? What looks different in your life right now? Even if it's not, oh, I've made millions of dollars, but looking at the life that you're able to appreciate, and highlighting, obviously highlighting the positives, right? So yeah, just three things to think about for Monday, and it'll take like 15 minutes, just me kind of introducing you to my social networks, and my connections, and who you are. And then it'll be something that you can leverage later. So you can say, well, I was interviewed by a seven-figure earner, and she works with women all around the world, and she had me on her blog. So you can check this out. So yeah, we'll do that Monday. That sound good?
It does.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Betty Jean. Well, just, if you ever need to reach out, if you ever need, just send me a message, and, you know, even jump on the phone or whatever. You always can. Definitely know that. I'm accessible.
So I feel a need just to say the last thing is that I am aware that both, even with Mark Hoverson, whom I did a thing with, and Lawrence Tam was at it, that I'm aware that I can feel that because I'm not active, because I'm not putting out there, and even in my responses sometimes I was like, oh man, I missed that whole thing. If you're not actively involved in making that effort to be put out good content and get involved, you just fade into the woodwork, right? So you have to stand out, right? You have to stand out somehow. And Mark Hoverson challenged me a number of years ago, by saying, are you sure you're cut out for this? Do you have what it takes? And it really, put me back. And I said, yes, although I haven't made a sale online, I haven't done any of that. I've been sitting in the shadows, watching and watching and watching and watching and watching. And I'm aware that I have only been watching, and I haven't jumped in. And I want to change that story from what I had back then of, jumping into the deep waters and being glad I could tread water, because I want to stop treading water, right? I want to start swimming with the sharks, because that was my line, is that I jumped in with the sharks, not in a negative way, but they're all powerhouse people, right? I mean, I jumped in with some pretty powerful people when I didn't even know how to do anything online, nothing. And do this, do that, and where I've come from is awesome now. So I'm ready to start swimming with them. And the only way to get acknowledged by any of them, because I do believe they haven't totally forgot about me, but why would they acknowledge me if there's nothing to acknowledge?
Exactly. And so that whole segment of your story is a huge part,
Right.
because looking at who you were back then, when you first got started, and you were, swimming with the sharks, but,
No, I was treading water. That's all I was doing, just treading water. Just
you're just
oh,
trying to stay alive. Actually,
yeah,
I don't even know if you jumped in.
yeah, right, right,
Kind of just looking through the glass,
yeah.
at the aquarium.
The
But
brass bottom boat.
yeah. So that, looking back at who that woman was, and contrasting her to who she is now, how much you know now, how much you've screwed up and failed and learned and scraped your knees and bumped and bruised all along that way. If we're just looking at your entrepreneurial journey, nothing else, not even taking
Right,
into consideration all of the, communities that you've been to,
right.
but looking at the growth in the growth in being an entrepreneur. I mean, you're a completely different person, and you have a whole new perspective.
I do.
And like you said, you're sick of looking through the glass. You're ready to jump in with the sharks. You're ready to take action. But and you can't just put a post out, 1 week, and do a really good story post, and then everyone's going to remember you. It's going to take them seeing you on their Facebook wall, every day for like 30, 60 days. And then they're like, oh my gosh, she's still here. She is still doing this. She is crushing it. This woman does not give up. And that's what you want people to see about you. Not that you have, because you haven't given up, but you haven't actually started.
Right.
So, you can still keep going, and we haven't officially quit, but when they see you out there starting, and they see, that consistent, even doing it wrong, even, seeing all these selfies of you, and you don't like the way you look, who cares? They see it every day. They're like, man, she is rocking the selfies. Betty Jean doesn't care. She's taking selfies everywhere she goes. And I feel like, I'm going with her. I feel like I'm traveling with her. I feel like I'm on this little mini jet with her. It's that needs to happen, right? That needs to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we could end it on a little bit of a chuckle.
It is a chuckle.
And we have to be able to laugh at ourselves, right, too?
Totally.
And say, you know what? Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to start.
That is. All right. Thank you. Talk to you Monday.
All right, hon. Well, I got to get going. It's bedtime upstairs. I hear them. We need to get the bedtime routine on track. Okay. So yeah, I'll post this replay and then just go through those couple of things that we talked about.
Thank you, Layla.
Okay. All right. Have a good one.
Bye for now.